Welcome back. Welcome back to Living in Mexico. I'm Ana Maria Salazar. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank all of you who've been joining us throughout the years. It's always an honor to share with you information, news, analysis about what's going on in Mexico, both in English and in Spanish. And in fact, today's guest has been joining us throughout the years from different positions. And today he is joining us as the head of the Coparmex, Presidente de Coparmex, which is, as you know, it's the organization that kind of unites those who are owners of businesses around the country. And Jose, once again, Jose Medina, Mora, once again, thank you so much for joining us. I know you all just published one of the polls. I know you publish polls with certain frequency to try to understand what's going on with Mexico's business community. And some of the data that has come out in the most recent polling has been survey, I should say, has been very concerning. According to this poll, the members of Coparmex, the businesses who belong to Coparmex, are saying that 1 in 2 businesses in Mexico have been victims of some type of crime. That's an extraordinary bit of information. Welcome to the show. What else does this this survey show us?
Yeah, thank you, Ana Maria. Well, we do this survey every 4 months, and yes, that's the result. 1 every 2 businesses have been victimized by a crime. First one is robbery of merchandise. This is the most frequent crime they have been victimized. It's about 35% of the businesses. The crime has been merchandise robbery. Then the second place, we have two crimes. One is the robbery of vehicles, but it's also in second place what is extortion, which includes the extortion on the phone and social networks, and also what we call the cobro de piso, the amount that these businesses have to pay in order to continue their operations. And after those crimes comes the cybernetic crime, which is growing, and it's concerning. It's the expectation is that it will be second or first place in the following months. So this is the results. We also have this information separated by states, and we see that the 3 states where we have the most companies, that most businesses that have been victimized are San Luis Potosí, Zacatecas, and Morelos. On the other side, the 3 states that have the least appearance of these crimes are Coahuila, Querétaro, and Yucatan. And this is what this survey reveals. It's not perception. This is reality, what they have been through in this survey. As I said, it's every 4 months, and the question is if they have been victimized in the last 12 months.
Let me ask you this, because in trying to get a sense what the rest of this this year is going to look like in terms of violence and insecurity in Mexico, there is a sense out there that things are not necessarily have gotten better throughout this administration. And the data, at least in regards to homicides and extortion, seems to indicate that there, at least homicides things indicate that maybe things are, if not getting better, it's at least it's not rising as fast. In the case of extortions, apparently things have gotten worse. I mean, based on this survey that Coparmex does with certain regularity, how what is your view as to what's happening in the country in general in regards to the victimization of the business community?
Well, the official numbers are clear. Insecurity is growing in different parts of the country. So we have seen some of the crimes that were stopped in some regions that they are appearing again. So this is the concern that what we are seeing is that the actual strategy is not working. We have made some declarations on it is time to make a stop and change this security strategy so that we can recover this Mexico in peace that we all want.
Mm-hmm. So, part of the reason why I wanted to interview or talk to you was that Coparmex has made a stance before Congress, and they're requesting that more money be allocated for state security, or local security, or at least security that could have an impact or benefit the business community. Can you walk us through what Coparmex is asking Congress?
Yeah, we're asking that the budget on security has to be increased, but not in the army, but in the local municipal and state police, and also the Ministerio Público, so that we can get a better security environment. What we have seen is that those states and those cities that have invested in a more professionalized and more trained police, they are having better results as far as security. But we used to have money for investing in police for state police and city police that we don't have those funds anymore, and that's one thing that we're proposing. We need that back again. We also need to invest in technology so that this can be resolved, and also the coordination between the three levels of government, local, state, and national, with one special request to the National Guard, which is that at least they patrol all the federal highways, because there's the place where the main crimes have been committed as far as robbery of merchandise. So we need more money for security, but not for the army, but for local and state police.
You know, I guess part of the problem, at least what many analysts have kind of underlined, is that, you know, we're at the end of the administration. There's this, I guess, 10 months before the elections take place in Mexico. And it seems very unlikely that there's going to be a change in policy on security matters, at least changes that could have an impact on what's happening in different parts of the country, in particular with extortions and homicides. Is there any program or project, is there anything that can be done in the next year in order to in some way stop some of these what's happening, for example, in the highways, as you mentioned, or stop the wave of violence that some parts of the country are going through?
Yeah, since the federal government has said that it will not change their strategy, what can be improved is in local and state strategies. And we have seen that that's working. We have talked about what's happening in Yucatan, but also in San Pedro, in Nuevo León, because they have invested in better police, they have invested in procedures, in technology, so that they have been able to reduce the number of these episodes. And also in other cities are happening. So what we can expect for the rest of this administration is that local police or local governments and state governments can make a difference if they also invest in the budgets in improving this security. But what we really need is that this coordination includes the federal government, because even though we have the National Guard, we have the army in the streets, they are not acting. They are not acting, coordinating, and this is why the number of crimes continue to grow in different businesses, in different cities and states in the country.
Now, I know we're 10 10 months away, and more about pretty much a year away and when the new president of Mexico, which looks like it's going to be a woman, by the way, when the new president of Mexico is going to have to make very difficult decisions in terms of security. What would be, and I know this is a difficult question, but what would be the message that Coparmex, the business community, should be laying out for the next president of Mexico?
We think that the main thing Mexico needs is rule of law. If everybody respects the law, we will have a better Mexico. And this will improve security, because when there's so much impunity, when the army is not acting, when National Guard is not coordinated with local state polices, we're not improving. So we could summarize it in a rule of law.
Well, I really appreciate you joining us, and hopefully you'll come back. It'd be interesting to see what's happening with these, ongoing surveys that Coparmex does, to see if there's any changes as we rapidly approach the electoral year in Mexico. And of course, as you know, Jose, in many countries around the world, the issue of security in many ways defines who's the next president of Mexico. And I've always thought that that even though security is a huge issue for I would say for citizens in general, at least it's a preoccupation, and has to be concerning for the business community, it doesn't seem to affect the way people vote. Am I wrong about that?
No, when you ask people what is concerning them, security is the first one. It's even more than having a job or economic prosperity. Right now, the main issue is security. So the candidate that wants to be president will have to present a strategy for recovering that Mexico with security, with peace, with rule of law, because we think that a better Mexico is possible. We have to do our job, and we have to ask the government to do their job, but we will have it.
Jose Medina Mora, president of Coparmex, nationwide Coparmex. I really appreciate you joining us today here on Living in Mexico. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ana Maria. I'll see you later.
Thank you. We've got to go to commercial break.